We all came to know and love Damian McGinty when 10 years ago he was chosen to play Irish student Rory Flanagan in Glee. Since then, so much has happened and he's now focusing on his music, so much so that he decided that for every month this year, he would release a new single. June has been no exception. This month he has released Those Were the Days. I'm thrilled to say he joins me now. Damian, it's great to have you on the Bellissimo Files.
It is good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Where am I talking to you from?
So I am currently in Tennessee in America. And yeah, it's 3:30 in the morning. So this is officially, I think, the earliest interview I've ever done. So
Thank you so much for waking up for us. How is your brain actually functioning at this time? How are you actually talking? Because I know when I wake up, the last thing I want to do is actually form a sentence.
yeah, no, I know sometimes it takes me a minute, but I set the alarm for so it's currently 3:30. I set the alarm for 3:15. And I got up and had a quick coffee, so I feel like I'm pretty good. I'm good to go.
You would never know that we're talking to you at stupid o'clock, but we're talking to you for a good reason, music. And,
Yes.
I don't know when you decided that every month in 2021, well, so far, you were going to release a new single. Why? And what's the reality of it?
Well, yes, that is exactly right. I last year, when this kind of went down, like when COVID came along, and I sort of realized that this was going to be a long-term thing. Serena, like I was like, I need to create some sort of formula for my 2021 that's gonna create a challenge for myself, but that's also gonna create a mold and like a work schedule that's going to really challenge me creatively as an artist, but also something that I will have control over, and something that no matter which way COVID kind of goes, I will be able to stick to. Because obviously there's so much that we don't control about anything, obviously, but in terms of music, and there's so much we don't have control over. But in terms of like writing music, it really shouldn't ever have an effect on that or have any control over that. So I sort of decided that in the autumn of 2020, I was like, I've been writing a lot. Next year, I feel like a really good challenge would be release a song every month, um, which I have to admit has been way more challenging than I thought it would be. Um, I didn't necessarily take it for granted. I knew it would be hard, but just everything that goes into releasing a song is a lot. Um, but this has been such an enjoyable process and one of the most challenging times that I've managed to create for myself, and I really, really enjoyed it.
Well, the one that you've released now, I think is perfect timing as well. Those were the days. We're at the start of summer. We always get so
Yeah.
nostalgic. The video clip is set in Derry. Tell me about this.
Yeah, I love the idea of nostalgia. Like I feel like a lot of my music is kind of based off of that concept. And those were the days is obviously no different. It really leans heavily into that. But I love the idea of trying to capture nostalgia in the current moment, because I realize that 10 years from now I'll look back and I'll be nostalgic about this moment. Like I'll be nostalgic about the time that I get up at 3:15 in the morning for an interview. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and it's something that we don't necessarily ever feel or notice in the moment because it's related to like a looking back type of thing. But I wanted to like capture modern day, like current day nostalgia, but also the idea of, the song is obviously Those Were the Days. And I shot it in my driveway in Derry. So that's like my family home that I grew up in. So that's where I would have played football as a 4-year-old or as a 5-year-old. So the fact that I was able to kind of bring it full circle and really bring the theme into the music video as well was a concept that I'd always wanted to do. I just hadn't written the song for that yet. And then Those Were the Days came along, and I was like, this is the time to finally torture my next door neighbors and shoot a music video in the driveway. So,
How did they feel about that?
well, they didn't really have much choice. I knocked on their door like an hour beforehand, and I was like, I I guess this is me like asking for your permission, but it's happening in an hour, even if you say no. So it was okay. They actually really enjoyed it. So it was fun. Like a lot of the street was kind of behind the camera. They were like all out watching, and as the cars drove by, you could like, because this doesn't happen very often in Derry, you could like see people like breaking their necks trying to figure out like what was going on. So it was pretty funny.
What was that like for you? Because I'm sure, you mentioned 4-year-old Damien kicking the soccer ball, but, young Damien was also into music. And I'm sure you were on that driveway many a time as a young kid, picturing yourself, like we all do, living out our dreams. You're there
Yeah.
now as grown up Damien, filming a film clip about nostalgia. Like that has to be a moment that when you actually sit in it, you just go, is this really happening?
Yes, 100%. And that's something that I'm trying to get better at is like really appreciating and enjoying the actual moments and like the actual work of what I do, and not necessarily the results because I feel like the work is what fulfills me a lot of the time and not necessarily like releasing stuff or like stuff doing well on the charts or like stuff, hitting TV shows, like whatever it might be. It's like I really enjoy the process and I'm trying to like really get better at being present and digesting that process. So as you say, I was in the driveway and I really was actively trying to like take it all in and be like, this is, like no matter what, I'm very, very lucky that I'm a 28-year-old man now. I get to do this as a living. I get to create for a career and I have an audience that is waiting on music. Um, and if you had told me that as a 4-year-old, I would have said that sounds pretty amazing. So yeah, it's definitely a good feel.
Did that 4-year-old ever think he'd be splitting his time between America and Derry? And how does that feel for you to create your home away from home?
I never thought I'd be doing that. Glee was the thing that made me move to the States. I've been working here now since I was 14, but physically being here and like creating a base here, I moved to Los Angeles when I was 18 because we were shooting at Fox every day. So that was like the first kind of, it wasn't a 9 to 5 in the sense that the hours were so erratic, but it was a 9 to 5 in the sense that I was going there every single day to the same place to work. So it felt like it was a real job, to be honest. Um, but obviously that made me move to California, and yeah, ever since then, I mean, America's just been my base, my second home, whatever you want to call it. I definitely am intent on like splitting base. I don't want to ever do like 100% of my time here. But I am actively aware that like the core of my audience is out here and like the core of my opportunity is just whatever way my career's played out is just like more stateside than it would be like back home. But that doesn't make me like less interested or less driven to make an impact back home. Like I love create music and having it try and make an effect on Irish radio, for example, because that's where I'm from. And you can hear in those were the days as well that there's, you hear yourself in there, you hear Irish undertones in there, and that's exactly what I want to do. I'd never ever want to, lose where I'm from.
Can you believe that in August it'll be 10 years since the Glee Project actually
No,
happened? And
no.
what I want to ask about that is auditioning is hard, full stop. What is
Yeah.
it like though when you go, right, I'm now auditioning for a part in a major, like Ryan Murphy is entertainment god, even back then, even
Yeah.
10 years ago. I'm auditioning
Yeah.
for that. But not only am I auditioning, the whole world is watching. And this is some form of entertainment. That has to mess with your head.
Yes, it did. And, you know, I think the only thing that helped with the Glee project was that it had never been done before. So we didn't know when we were creating the show and going through the process, we didn't know ultimately what this was going to look like on TV. So I think that kind of helped because it allowed you to not like get into your head too much about it or, think, what's this going to look like on television? Or like, it was really like a real life experience that they just happened to be filming 24/7 basically. But it was, to be honest, it was kind of easy to forget the element that this is going to be on TV because it was so real, it was so challenging, and it was all consuming. It was a 10-week process where they took our phones away, they took our laptops away. We were in the mountains in California for 10 weeks,
Wow.
in dorms. So we were like kind of slumming it a little bit. And that was all, that's what they kind of do in those shows. That's like a purposeful act as well. Is it like where you stay isn't the best. So therefore, maybe like your mentality isn't as fresh and as strong as it should be. So they get like um not necessarily drama, but they get
Oh yeah,
people that are
drama. Let's go with drama. That's what they're looking
probably
for.
is drama. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
it probably is drama because like people are so high on edge all the time. And then as the weeks went down and as I sort of hung in there and stayed more in there, um, I remember I hit top six, and I remember the moment that I thought, wait a second, I could maybe win this was when I was meant to be sent home, but Cameron quit, which saved me. And I was like, I feel like if there was a week I was gonna get sent home, I was like, it was this week. But Cameron just quit because he basically just was like, I've had enough. I need to get out of here. I'm tired of eating fast food and not being on my phone, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, such a crazy experience. The fact you're saying it's 10 years is I can't even begin to understand how it is 10 years, but it just shows you how fast time goes.
Do you remember Damian McGinty of 10 years ago? You've won the Glee Project, right? So you're
Yeah.
all ecstatic. And then you turn up to Glee, your first day on set. How are you feeling?
Really frightened. And I don't say that lightly. I don't intimidate or get intimidated very easily. Like I'm quite, I believe in myself to the point where I would never be cocky, but like I have like a quiet inner confidence that I can just get the job done. Like I feel like that's who I always have been, and I hope that if you'd asked anybody in the industry, like say one thing about Damien, it would be like it gets the job done. And that's what I kind of pride myself on. Going on that set was scary because keep in mind the timing of joining that cast. They had just finished season two, which had like broke ratings on
It's
television
huge.
across the board. Yes, and they also just got back from like a 40 city tour across the world that they did in those 6 weeks where like you don't film between season two and season three, like June and July basically. So then I joined in August, and they are at their absolute pinnacle of fame and success on that show. And then there's this little Irish guy that walks in. So it was kind of scary. Um, a lot of them were very nice. I never had any trouble with anyone personally. Like they were all very kind of welcoming, but like a lot of them were very standoffish as well, which I totally understood. But that's not the Irish way. Irish, we're not standoffish. So it was great. One of the first scenes I did was standing in front of all of them, singing a song called "Take Care of Yourself." Yeah, which is just like, I mean, it's pretty terrifying because I wasn't a major like I wasn't like a major fanboy at all, but I enjoyed the show. I enjoyed watching it. So being on the set was pretty surreal. Yeah.
How do you look back at that time?
Fondly, I look back that I learned a lot. Um, I look back that I would probably do certain things differently. Um, but joining it as a 19-year-old, you have to just throw yourself into the deep end, and it's either sink or swim. Like I didn't have the delicacy of having time to learn before like jumping into the very, very deep end with the show. So it was like sink or swim, and I just had to swim pretty quickly and just like figure out how to not drown basically in Hollywood. Um, which I feel like, to be honest, is an achievement in itself because, sadly, many people go to Hollywood at a very young age and actually don't get out the other end. Do you know what I mean? Like that is it's an actual problem. It's a very difficult world to exist in. So I look back at it very fondly. I learned a lot and I met a lot of great people. Um, and obviously now, it's always now tinted with a bit of sadness because there's just so much tragedy that's going on in that with that cast as well. So it's just like that's always in the back of your mind too, which is really sad. But that's the way life goes sometimes.
What was it like when it came to an end? Because I know when you're in it, it is such a whirlwind, but you
Hmm.
get used to being in that whirlwind. And then when it just stops, are people there for you or you just left to go? Because I think that's the scary thing about Hollywood, when you sort of just left to, yeah, you're a part of this hit show. Now you're not anymore. What do you do?
Yes, I think that can be a tough transition. Um, for some more than others. For me, I've always the thing about me is I've always just loved working in general. So I wasn't afraid to pick up any gig after that. Like if it was a low key touring gig or if it was like whatever it might have been, it didn't bother me. Like I wasn't necessarily looking for obviously I wasn't gonna join, a school theater play, but like I wasn't necessarily looking for like a certain standard of work. I was just like, I wanna, I just wanna get my main thing was like I haven't toured in a couple of years. I want to get back out on the road. I really miss that. So I did that, which slowly transitioned me into then like really finding my feet. Um, as myself, like as a grown up version of myself, not as a 19-year-old. Like I was entering, 23, 24, where that are really transitional years in terms of like what you're gonna be for the rest of your life, in terms of like what your career is gonna look like. Um, so I really found my feet. I'm very glad I did. Glee helped majorly with that. Glee helped me realize what I didn't want to be, which
That's important.
I thought it's a very, very healthy experience to have. I seen a lot in Hollywood that I was like, I don't want to do that. Like I've met so many unhappy people that seem to be doing their dream job, but yet they're really, really not happy. Um, so I was like, I don't want to do that. So yeah, for a lot of people, it can be very, very hard because you're coming out of, as you say, the schedule. It's every episode is 8 days. So it is a cycle that is just relentless. Um, but for me, I was kind of lucky. I got out of it. I just wanted to work in general across the board. So I kind of jumped straight back into it quite quickly, um, and found myself as an artist and realized what I wanted to do. So
And what I love is you've gone out there, you've worked, you have found yourself as an artist, but you haven't forgotten about your personal life. And this morning, before I came on to chat to you, I had to wipe away my tears because I was watching Forever I Do, the wedding version
no,
that you released. And even just talking about it, I'm
thanks.
getting teary. It was a year after you got married, and it was
Yeah.
just so beautiful. What was it like for you to be able to turn that special moment into such a special, you already had the song, but to be able to tailor it to that moment?
Yeah, yeah, that was something that yeah, I love having music like document my own experiences, but also have it be I think the beauty about music and the key of songwriting is documenting and making it relatable to yourself, but then also other people listen to it and can hopefully relate to it in their own lives as well. Um, Forever I Do, Forever I Do is really an album track. It's not like a single, like it was never planned to be a single at all. Um,
It needs to
and
be
I wrote
everyone's
it
wedding song. It's gorgeous.
well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I wrote it with my buddy Mark Kaplis 2 months after I got engaged, and it was the final song on the Young Forever album cycle that I wrote. But as you say, I released it in March of 2019, and then I got married in June of 2019, and then it was the year later. I was like, what would be a fun idea for like my wife as like some sort of anniversary present, but then like also just like to market. And we were in the middle of COVID as well. So I basically got the laptop out and was like, I want to like kind of redo Forever I Do, but like have a wedding version. So I called my buddy Kane Sweeney and I was like, this is my idea. I was like, I don't think it'll be very hard. We just need to pull like a couple of stems back from the production, like have it kind of be mainly piano, a couple of different elements in there. And then I called the wedding company. They shot our videos, and I was like, "This is what I want to do." There's a 3.5 minute video that I want to make for the song about the wedding. Um, so that's what we did. And thank you for your kind words. I appreciate that.
Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. And your wife, I mean, you are so lucky. You get to give the most beautiful presents to your wife. Like that is a
Well,
stunning anniversary present.
well, that's very kind. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Um,
It's funny. It's funny when she's your wife. I don't think she kind of looks at it quite that way. It's like it's very, very different. Like she's not really like that at all, which is kind of funny. But I appreciate that.
well, we're all appreciating it, and we're appreciating the fact that you do have new music out. Your latest track, "Those Were the Days." When you look back in 10 years' time, what are you going to be hoping to say about those days that you've lived?
That's a really good question. I honestly just want to say, Serena, that and like I don't even know if this sounds cliche or whatever, but like I love trying to live every single day to the absolute maximum. Like I really, really enjoy that. I'm somebody that really, really enjoys life. I realize how lucky I am. I've got like a lot of great things in my life. I'm such an average person. Like I really try and actively find beauty in like the average day-to-day things. It doesn't necessarily have to be like this glitzy, amazing life. Like that's not, I really find the beauty in the in between. So I hope 10 years from now, like I can look back and be like, you know what, like you really like did everything you could with everything you had. You were present, you enjoyed it. But also in 10 years from now, I'll only be 38. So I'm gonna be looking at the next 40 years because like my idea and like my long-term goal is longevity. Um, if you offered me to sell 10 million records in the next 5 years, or if you offered me to be doing this when I was 80 years old, I would take doing this at 80 years old every time. So that's kind of the way I look at my career. I just love it so much, and I love creating, no matter what level it is. So I hope I'm fortunate to be able to do this for a while still.
Well, here's to you actually getting to 80 and still doing what you're doing. Everyone, like getting to do what Tony Bennett does,
I
still making the music.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I might not make it to 80 if I keep getting up at 3:15, but I'll try.
I promise next time we chat, it'll be at a decent hour for the two of us. Damian McGinty, good luck with everything. Thank you so much for waking up for
Serena,
us.
thank you for having me. So nice talking to you. Have a good day.